Hi guys, it's great to see you again. I'm Miss Joli, and I'll be your visual artist for this lesson. Today we're going to talk about the pioneer, hunter, and trailblazer, Daniel Boone. We're going to also talk about the Cumberland Pass on the Wilderness Trail and the Compass Rose. And then we're going to create an artwork inspired by this. What we're going to need for today is a sheet of paper, pencil, eraser, and a little cup of crayons. Here's a picture of the United States, as you may see now in your classroom, with all the states shown on it. Let's look at what North America looked like at the time of the 13 colonies. The early explorers who came to North America were mostly interested in finding goods and riches that they could take back to Europe to sell. Many of these explorers learned vital skills from the Native Americans. Now, the Native Americans were the indigenous people of the Americas. That means that they were born in this area when they're native. It means they're born in this area. They were living here first. So always remember, the first people known to live in North America we called Native Americans. Now, vital skills are the important skills that someone needs to survive, like hunting, fishing, gathering, and farming. The Europeans brought things to trade with the Native Americans, such as cloth. The first English colonists settled along the coast of the Atlantic Ocean, then to the Appalachian Mountains. Now, settlements are the places where people make their homes in a new area. Now, the settlers came from Europe. They said the land belonged to them. They claimed it as their own, even though the Native Americans had been living on that land for thousands of years. So the word claimed means that they said something belonged to them, even if others might not agree. All right? So here we see on the right side of the eastern United States, this is where the Europeans settled, right here. That's where the settlements, they became the colonies. Many Native Americans were forced to move away from their family lands. Some moved west over the Appalachian Mountains. See, this is the Appalachian Mountains. But as the United States expanded, more and more pioneer families moved westward over the Appalachian Mountains. So this displaced many Native Americans already living in the area. It forced them to leave their homes and move even further west. The mountains acted as a barrier for the Europeans. Now, a barrier is something that blocks movement from one place to another. So it was very difficult to cross from one side of the mountains to the other side. Here's some pictures of the Appalachian Mountains. Take a look. All those little areas, that's full of trees and shrubs and anything that can get in your way. The land is not flat. It's up and down. They have ravines in there. It's mountain areas. Daniel Boone was born in 1734 near the town of Reading, Pennsylvania. At an early age, Daniel had native friends who taught him how to move silently through the forest, and how to trap wild animals and catch fish in the streams, how to use a knife and a tomahawk. His dad taught him how to use a rifle. Now, young Daniel Boone became a woodsman at an early age. The word woodsman means that people who live and work in the forest, those are called woodsmen. An area of land with many wild animals and plants and few people living there, that's called the wilderness. In 1750, just before Daniel turned 16, the Boone family moved from Pennsylvania to the edge of the frontier, or the barrier, if you think of it that way. It's a river valley of North Carolina, actually. So the frontier is actually the area of North America's west. That's the west part of that, over the Appalachian Mountains. That's the frontier area. So that area, that's where Boone's family moved to the edge of it, just before the mountain. Now this was before it had been explored or settled by the European settlers. So they were on the edge of it, just before it. So the pioneers are the first people that live in a new place. So they were considered pioneers. The Appalachian Mountains stretch from Maine to Georgia. Daniel asked friends for a way to cross the mountains. John Finley knew a way to cross the Appalachian Mountains. He knew of several big gaps in the mountains. Now, a gap is a space between two things. It can also be referred to as a pass, which is a natural gap in between the mountains. Okay, so the Cumberland Gap and the Cumberland Pass is basically the same thing. That's in Virginia. It's where Virginia borders Kentucky and Tennessee. It was formed by rushing water years ago. The natural gap or pass through the mountains has been trampled down first by the buffalo and later by Native Americans. These passes made it easier to cross the mountains, okay? It's an old Native American footpath. You can only walk or ride a horse on a footpath. It led up a steep side of the mountain. It's easier to use a pass than to climb up and down a mountain, don't you think? Kentucky is located to the west of the Appalachian Mountains. So Daniel Boone made it to the other side. 2 years Daniel Boone stayed in eastern Kentucky. He hunted and trapped wild animals. He used these animals for food and for their fur. When Daniel returned to North Carolina, pioneers wanted him to lead them through the dense forest, the wilderness. Remember, the wilderness is an area of land with many plants and animals and few people living there. So there's few roads to go through in the wilderness. The trail was originally a Native American footpath called the Great Warrior's Path. Later, it was known as the Wilderness Road. Now, a footpath is only wide enough for walking or riding a horse. A footpath is not wide enough for wagons. They walked through rain, snow, and mud and used axes to chop down trees and bushes to widen the old Native American footpath so that the pioneers' wagons could fit later on. Daniel Boone helped open the way for the pioneers to move west. He helped to widen the Native American trails, make it easier for people to make the journey to the other side of the Appalachian Mountains. They built log bridges across streams. Daniel Boone and his men successfully cleared a trail from eastern Virginia through the Cumberland Gap and into Kentucky. Pioneers from Virginia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania began to move along the Wilderness Road in great numbers. He became known as a trailblazer, someone who creates a trail leading the way for others to follow. And also it's a type of explorer. Okay? They explore so that other people can go the same way they went. Daniel Boone is the most famous trailblazer of this era. Daniel Boone's family was the first pioneer family to settle in Kentucky. They built a fort near Kentucky's river as large as one city block. The fort sheltered log cabins and the people that lived in them. It was called Boonesboro, after the man who built it, Daniel Boone. Now, Daniel Boone explored the land west of Kentucky until he died at the age of 86. The compass rose has 4 main points called the cardinal directions. That's north, east, south, and west. Cardinal means basic or the most important. So these directions are used to describe a location on the map. And one way to remember it easy is to think of the phrase, never eat soggy waffles. So there, and go ahead and write your name on your paper. Okay, I'm going to be doing my project in marker, and you'll be doing yours with pencil so that you can erase. So we're doing Daniel Boone, the Cumberland Pass. We're going to start off by doing a few slopes, like mountain slopes. And our mountain slopes, I'll go from one side. From one side, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and do one coming here. Maybe I'll do one coming down here too, a little bit. Let's see, I'm going to go all the way off my page here. And I'm going to try one on this side. Depends on what angle you're looking at it. Maybe I'm going to leave some room on the top on this side. Maybe this was another mountain on the other side there. All right. And the next thing, this is about what I'm going to have for my artwork. I'm going to go ahead and do a compass rose. Remember our compass rose, it has our cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. Of course, we're going to be going westward. So I'm going to go ahead and do it like on the paper. Normally we'll do a cross and then a T. Let me show you a few styles we can do for compass roses. You have like a cross first, or a T, or a plus sign. You put one there, and then you're going to go ahead and put a little bitty X in the middle. Okay, this one I'm going to just do a few of them. A few different little styles. Okay, what you're going to do is do a straight line to each one of these. See, it makes it real simple. I'm going to redo this. I just want you to watch this while I'm doing it. This one I'm going to do one, but I'm not going to do it on each one. I'm going to skip every other one. There we go. Instead of doing it with the points, I'm going to think about a great big S kind of style. See? Remember, we have north, south, east, west. That's how we have them. Never eat soggy waffles. All right. And then let's see, you can all do all kinds. You can do it without the line if you like. If you like the little S. Okay, you can do it the same way. North, south, east, and west. Right. Never eat soggy waffles or sour watermelon. Never eat sour watermelon. That's what some of my students tell me. Or soggy waffles. Let's see, I'm going to do this one here. North, south, east, west. All right, these are the big boys. North and south, the big boys. The others, like if you want to, I'm going to go ahead and show you. If you want to extend it a little bit and just create a box behind it, this would be northeast. Remember, these are the big boys. And this would be north. Oops, excuse me. This would be southeast. And this would be southwest and northwest. Back to my artwork. And this is where I'm going to put my compass rose right here. And you can put it however you like. You can leave it like that and just put an arrow on each end if you like. It's your artwork, you decide. So I'm going to just put a small one here. And I'm going to put a small pointy one here. Label my north. Never eat soggy waffles. Never eat sour watermelon. All right. I'm going to go ahead and put my other little directions in between. You decide if you want to do that. I'm making my little box behind it. And this would be northeast. This would be southeast. Remember, these are the two big boys. Everything follows them. This would be southwest. And this would be northwest. All right. And then sometimes I go ahead and draw a circle, and sometimes that's another circle around it. I'll just do a half circle here. I mean a half a curve. There you go. And then I'll do the rest with my crayons. The rest of this I'm going to be doing with crayon. What I like to do is use my color white first. Sometimes I do it around there. I'll do that after I do my yellow. I'm going to go ahead and do a yellow all the way around. You decide what you want to do with yours. What we're doing is coloring this up. This is our Cumberland Gap, or our Cumberland Pass. Remember, that's a space in between. The space in between. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and color this in. And then I like to add a little white around it. My angle is hard to reach. Oh, that's good. And then I like to put my white around it. The white doesn't show much here, but it will as I color it. I'm going to have blue sky, and I like to put white around it so that my yellow doesn't turn green. So that's why I usually like it. And then this will probably be the only spot I have white on my page. Everything else I'm going to color in. You can decide what color you want to color in your compass on the inside. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is think about what kind of trees you might see. Like, let's see, I can put me a... Now, you'll be looking at this from really far. Remember the picture with the trees in the distance? Sometimes it looks like just specks. And we have all different colors. Let's think about fall time. You might have trees that are red, orange, and yellow. Look, I'm going to just go ahead and do some trees that look like this. Look like a pine tree, right? In fact, the bottom, I'm just going to cover it up. So if this is going to be from far, you won't see it. I'll put a few pine trees in my distance. kind of cross hatch it. Well, I'm just kind of putting cross over it. Okay, so that's going to be one kind of tree. Some places I might have, if you have some really close in the front, you might be able to put a few little branches, possibly, maybe for your trees. And I like to put little dots and spots. And then afterwards, I'm going to color over everything with green. See how I make my little tree here? Now, trees have all different kinds of shapes. Some of them, I'm going to put both of these similar. Some of them, just the ones in the very, very, very front. And again, we're kind of far from these to begin with. So you might not see any of the branches in it. From far you won't. This one I'm going to put a few blue specks, or if you have I have a yellow green and a darker green, the blue green, that will work in my trees. And you're going to fill up all these little places. Maybe this one's going to just be just some little coloring for bushes and branches. Look, I might do another pine tree that might be in this color. Might look like it. It won't show it that much. And maybe something that looks like, when I put other colors in it, it's going to be trees there. Maybe I'll put some. This kind of like little dots and dashes for, excuse me, different colored leaves. So I'm going to be coming over all of this with green colors. See, actually I'm going to be coloring all of this area with green, and I'm going to come back with it. So I'm going to put the trees in the very front. In the very back, I won't be able to see what kind of trees I have. So I'm going to leave this right here. Some of those trees will be in different colors, like I said. Like here are some trees here that are not evergreen. They turn colors. And maybe some more. This one I'm gonna put with different colors of the fall colors. Remember your fall colors? Red, orange, and yellow. I might put a little yellow in that one. So that's going to be maybe a fall tree. I am going to go ahead right here where the pass would be. I know we don't really see it all the time, but just so that you know, this area is where we could say the trails would be. Just for your representation, we can go ahead and color it in. That's trails. Now remember, they had mountains and mountains and mountains, and only in one area, this is where water would run. You know, they used to have water that would run like a river, and then the buffalo followed that area. I can put some yellow in it too to make it look, who knows, could be a little sandy or it could be a little dirty, so I can put some browns. Okay, the buffalo would pass there, and then the Native Americans would follow the buffalo because they hunt buffalo, and then also when they were moving westward, see, when they were going west, when they were moving west, they would follow those same paths. And as you've seen, the paths were different kinds of little trails that eventually Daniel Boone had to get people to help him. Now this wasn't overnight. The first people that passed, they really didn't have place for wagons. They had to kind of cross first and then build their wagons on the other side. And then later on, more and more people kept going, and more, they opened the areas up bigger. So they added more and more and more. Now in these areas here, remember the little the spots of color that were in certain areas? So I'm going to put little specks of color. This could be trees. You're going to fill up the whole area. You won't finish this right away. It's going to take a little while. It's going to take a little while, and you can just keep adding and adding and adding on here. Adding and adding and adding color. And then some of them will be this green. Keep adding color. That could be all the trees that are there. You can just fill it up with just different colors. Then you're going to come back and color it up. Now some of them will be reds. They had some, we could say this is up north, right? It is up north from us. So those areas, they do have trees that do have a red color. We don't see them very often down here in the south, in southern Louisiana, but they do have them. And keep working with it. Keep adding. Some of them are a little bit yellow. I'm not going to put very big, thick yellow. And then I'm going to come back and color it all up. I put more and more and more trees as we go. And the area up here, I'm going to go ahead and fill this up. See how if I turn it sideways, it will give a light color, and then I can go back and add more and more and more. This is going to be my sky. And I'm going to come back and add more around down here, over and over and over, till my artwork starts to look something like this. See how I have little trees and these specks here? I could go ahead and put more patches of color. I would put more and more and more patches of color as we continue. More and more and more patches of color, because all of this is just the tops of a whole bunch of trees. This is mountaintops, and this is not the top of the mountain. This is the lower area. The lower area is close to be a valley if they had more area there, but they don't quite have too much area. It was just the Appalachian Mountains were full. They were full and thick, and it was hard to pass through. Imagine passing through a bunch of briars or a bunch of pickers or stickers. They had to pass through all kinds of things. So they were trying to pass through the area where the buffaloes would pass. Now their hides are thicker than ours, but you could ride a horse, but the wagon wouldn't quite pass there. So that's what we'd be working on. And then, like I said, color up your compass rose with the cardinal directions. That's north, east, south, and west. Or sometimes you'll say north, south, east, and west, because those are the two big boys. Everything follows what they are doing, right? I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to continue coloring, and you continue coloring too. Take a moment and view your artwork. Turn and look at your neighbor's artwork. Notice the similarities and the differences between you and your classmates' artwork. Thanks for joining me today. We learned so many things. We talked about the pioneer, hunter, and trailblazer, Daniel Boone. We talked about the Cumberland Pass, or Gap, on the Wilderness Trail, and also the Compass Rose. And we created an artwork inspired by this. As you go through your week, notice the places you go and the routes you take. Think about the people who created these trails that led to your travel directions. Enjoy the rest of your day. I can't wait to see you next time.